Hello and welcome to Haunted Montreal's Spooky Story Sessions. I'm your host, Holly Rhiannon, and today I'm going to tell you all about the haunted statue of Jacques Cartier. With over 200 documented ghost stories, Montreal is easily the most haunted city in Canada, if not all of North America. Haunted Montreal is dedicated to researching these paranormal tales, and our channel brings you new videos in both French and English every Saturday. Today's episode examines the haunted statue of Jacques Cartier in Saint-Henri. Striking a victorious pose over a fountain adorned with 4 decapitated Indigenous heads, the monument has been described by community activists as colonial and racist. While some local citizens want the statue removed because it celebrates genocide, others want it gone because it's allegedly haunted. But before we get into today's episode, please remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell button so you get notified every time we've got a new tale to share. And hey, if you're already subscribed, thank you so much. Welcome back. We're happy to have you here. Now, without further ado, let's get spooky. Towering over Saint-Henri Park is a statue of Jacques Cartier perched atop a fountain that is rumored to be haunted. Striking a victorious pose over a fountain adorned with 4 decapitated Indigenous heads, the monument has been described by community activists as colonial and racist. While some local citizens want the statue removed because it celebrates genocide, others want it gone because it is allegedly haunted. Reports exist of the statue's eyes following people. Others have heard it cackling maniacally at night, and a group of tourists was shocked when the beheaded Indigenous elements began spewing out what appeared to be blood. In Montreal, statues are the responsibility of the Public Art Bureau. Established in 1989, the taxpayer-funded organization is responsible for managing the municipal collection of public art, and that includes acquisitions, maintenance, restoration, and promotion. Today, the collection includes more than 320 artworks integrated into public spaces and municipal buildings, such as statues, monuments, murals, fountains, and sculptures. Concerning the statue of Jacques Cartier in Saint-Henri Park, the Public Art Bureau's website describes it plainly, with some casual racism thrown in as well. The focal point of Parc Saint-Henri, the monument fountain, is situated in the center of a pool and stands on an octagonal base decorated with bulrushes. On the base sits 4 large basins alternating with 4 small columns, topped with cups with fountain jets. In the center, 4 beavers hug the base of the pedestal. The top part of the monument has 3 sections. The bottom one is adorned with foliage branches knotted together with a ribbon and heads of aboriginals. The middle one bears inscriptions relating episodes in Cartier's career. The top one is pierced with an opening for the mouth of a large fountain jet. On top of the monument is the sculpture of Cartier, portrayed as a valiant explorer wearing a cap and a cape and baggy knickers that were in style during the reign of Francis I. His right hand rests on his sword belt, and his raised left arm points west. At his feet is a tree stump, the symbol of a country to be cleared. Saint-Henri Park was originally called Jacques Cartier Square when it was created in 1890. Town of Saint-Henri Mayor Eugene Guy purchased the land to create a public square for the enjoyment of the sector's business elite. Inspired by 16th century Italian gardens, the original square was landscaped with grass and trees and fitted with a dozen branches to promote relaxation. For a focal point, the mayor took up a collection to hire Joseph Arthur Vincent to create a Second Empire-style cast iron fountain surmounted by a statue of Jacques Cartier. Vincent carved the statue out of wood and surrounded it with copper plating, a less expensive way to create impressive-looking monuments. The work was intended to celebrate French-Canadian history by demonstrating the dominance of explorer and colonizer Jacques Cartier. When it was first unveiled in 1893, 10,000 residents attended the ceremony, attesting to the popularity of the monument to Jacques Cartier at the time. At the turn of the 20th century, upper-middle-class homes were built around the square in stone, including one for Mayor Gay himself. When the Georges-Étienne Cartier Park was created in 1910, Jacques Cartier Square was renamed Saint-Henri Park to avoid confusion. In 1957, the city of Montreal announced its intention to move the statue to Mount Royal, prompting a citizen backlash. While the locals managed to save the monument, in the 1960s, the upper-middle-class citizens gradually began moving away from the area. Time was taking its toll on the park. By 1963, water had infiltrated the interior of the fragile monument, and it began to crumble. In 1979, it was replaced by a copy made of epoxy resin. In 1990, local residents founded a committee to enhance and improve the monument. The original statue was restored and placed in Saint-Henri metro station in 2001, whereas a new version cast in bronze was prepared to stand atop the fountain in the park. In 2012, the new statue was unveiled in the park by the Public Art Bureau for the 477th anniversary of Jacques Cartier's visit to the island at a cost of $83,000. The committee was awarded an Orange Prize in Heritage Preservation for its lobbying. Some Montrealers were surprised that so much money and effort went into restoring a statue that celebrates colonialism, domination, and even genocide, whereas others whispered that the city should have removed it for good due to persistent rumors of hauntings. While rare, haunted statues are known to exist and disturb people throughout the world, as described on Escoffieh's video 10 Haunted Statues Caught on Tape. Like the others, Montreal's statue of Jacques Cartier is also known to upset people through its paranormal antics. In the 1970s, Marie-Josée, not her real name because she prefers to remain anonymous, was a single mother. She met a local man who had a steady job and soon married him to provide her daughter with a more stable upbringing. After the wedding, the family moved into one of the stately homes bordering Saint-Henri Park on Rue Agnes. She reported that after she had moved in with her husband and young daughter, she began experiencing problems with the statue of Jacques Cartier in the park. The first night in their new home was like a dream come true. Marie-Josée and her new husband were thrilled to be in such a beautiful old house overlooking this Victorian park with plenty of space to raise her daughter. That first night, the family ordered in Chinese takeout as they began the arduous task of unpacking all of their belongings from numerous boxes scattered throughout the house. At around 9 p.m., Marie-Josée was putting her daughter to bed when she heard what sounded like laughter coming from outside. She opened the window to see if there were rowdy teenagers in the neighborhood, but could not see anyone on the street or in the park across the street. While she could not place the laughter, she recognized the voice as male. The laughter got louder and soon transformed into a mixture of snickering, giggling, and cackling. Unimpressed, Marie-Josée closed the window and secured its latch. Unfortunately, she could still hear the deranged laughter, albeit more muffled. "Mama, why is someone laughing outside?" asked Marie-Josée's daughter, stating, "I'm scared." Marie-Josée had to sleep with her daughter that night, and the evil laughter continued on and off for hours. The next morning, she went outside and across the street into Saint-Henri Square to see if she could find any clues as to what was happening the previous night. She saw people feeding pigeons from benches and squirrels darting through the trees. In the center of the park, she noticed a big fountain and water pouring down. On top of it was a triumphant man with a sword standing on a tree stump. She read the writing on the base and soon realized that he was none other than Jacques Cartier, a man that she had learned about in high school when studying history. She recalled that in the 1500s he had discovered Canada and claimed the land for the King of France. She looked up at the statue and was studying it when something caught her eye. It was the eyes of the statue. It appeared as though they were staring directly at her. She began moving, keeping her gaze locked, and began to feel troubled when it appeared as though his eyes were following hers. It was almost as though he was giving her a cockeyed or dirty look. Marie-Josée was even more shocked when it appeared that the statue was smirking at her. Was she imagining all of this? She slowly backed away, but was pretty certain that the statue's eyes were still following her. At this point, she broke eye contact with the ominous statue and turned around to return home. That's when she heard the snickering again. And this time, it seemed to be coming from the statue itself. That evening, when her husband came home from work, Marie-Josée informed him about the disturbing, seemingly paranormal statue and its irritating antics. "So what?" asked the husband, explaining, "He's the founder of Canada and has every right to do what he wants." "Yes," said Marie-Josée, "but he's a statue." Her husband shrugged, let out a sigh, and asked her to bring him a cold beer before turning on the television to watch sports. Over the next days, Marie-Josée and her daughter continued to be unnerved by the malicious cackling and laughter seemingly coming from the haunted statue. It was becoming more and more unbearable. Marie-José invited a friend over who happened to be a medium and told her about her problems with the statue. The medium investigated and informed her that the statue was indeed haunted. She explained that the colonial explorer did a lot of bad things and was essentially a very arrogant man. The laughter coming from the statue was a reflection of his misdeeds. Marie-José informed her husband of the news, and again, he shrugged and turned on the television. Marie-José was becoming more and more exasperated and told her husband that she and her daughter could not continue to live under such unbearable conditions. She wanted to move somewhere else. "But, chérie," said her husband, "we just moved into this wonderful place. We signed a lease for a year. Now let me watch my game in peace." "Yes," said Marie-José, "but that cursed statue is driving us crazy. We want to live somewhere else where it's more peaceful." A heated argument evolved, and before long there was screaming and shouting echoing through the house. Marie-José's daughter started bawling. Realizing that she was in an impossible situation and angry with her new, suddenly insensitive husband, Marie-José decided to leave him that very night with her weeping daughter in tow. Even though they tried to patch things up over the next several months, the relationship ultimately ended in a divorce. A little bit more recently, in 2014, a group of Korean tourists was visiting Montreal, and Saint-Henri Park was on their tour bus agenda because of its colonial statue. The guide, licensed by the City of Montreal and a member of the tour guide monopoly, wanted to teach the tourists about Jacques Cartier, the father of modern Canada. He had been taught about the importance of Jacques Cartier in his high school history course and at the mandatory tour guide program at the ITHQ, which markets itself as Canada's best tourism school. When they arrived in the square, the guide proudly pointed out the sculpture fountain and all its distinct features. He gushed as he pointed out that Jacques Cartier had claimed all this land for the King of France, and that the statue symbolized European domination over the Aboriginals, animals, and plants in the New World. The guide was about to explain how Jacques Cartier's discovery led to a modern Canada, when suddenly one of the female tourists pointed at the statue, shrieked, and then fainted on the spot. The guide rushed to her side and began splashing water from the fountain on her face to try and revive her. When she came to, she began screaming in Korean before picking herself up and running off. The guide was shocked and asked her companions what the problem was. "She saw blood," said one of the tourists, "coming out from the mouths of the decapitated Aboriginal heads." The guide scoffed at the time, but has been haunted by the experience ever since. When he is drunk, sometimes he tells the story, still in utter disbelief. Whether Jacques Cartier is looking down upon the citizens of Montreal from the afterlife, or the spooky circumstances that seem to surround his statue are those of overactive imaginations, no one can prove absolutely. But whatever the case, this site is rich in history and therefore a very good candidate for paranormal goings-on. Are you a Montreal resident or perhaps a tourist who has had a strange or horrifying experience around the Jacques Cartier statue? If so, we'd love to hear about it. As always, we want to know your theories about what could be going on. Thank you so much for stopping by. If this is your first video, we do hope that you'll stick around for the next one. We put out new videos in both French and English every Saturday. If you'd like to learn more about the organization founded by the talented Donovan King, it's all listed in the description down below, along with links to purchase tickets to in-person haunted storytelling tours. Remember to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. We'll have a new video out for you next Saturday, but until then, stay spooky.